Hey y'all, welcome back to Mike Talks with Miss All. I am the host, Miss All, and guess what? I'm outside. I decided to change it up a little bit today. But before we get started on today's conversation, I want to thank everybody for your feedback on the last conversation we had where we talked about generational impact and I shared my not being able to swim and how I had been impacted by my mother with that. And I just appreciate how everybody shared that they could actually relate areas of their life to that. So I'm glad I was able be able to get you to thinking about some things. But again, I'm outside. Today is a gorgeous day. I'm watching the squirrels run and listening to the birds sing. I think you can hear them in the background. That's why I'm using this microphone today. And just feeling this nice breeze blowing outside. Outside is actually one of my happy places. And I wanted to share my happy place with all of you. So thank you for joining me. September 22nd was the first day of fall. And as I'm sitting here, it's just reminding me of the four weather seasons. And so in this conversation, that's exactly what I want to talk about. I want to talk about seasons and not just weather seasons, but the seasons that we live through as people. So let's get into how the weather around us actually mirrors the journey within us. So, the first season I want to talk about is spring. Spring is filled with freshness and newness, and when the flowers bloom, and y'all might hear some wind, so just let it go. The grass is green, everything feels alive again after the long harshness of winter. The sun is warmer, the days are longer, people are filled with hope and optimism, and that's springtime for a lot of us in a lot of areas of the country. And in our lives, seasons are also filled with beginnings. It could be new careers, it could be new relationships, having a baby, personal journeys of healing or growth. Spring just represents positivity and newness. I think about spring as a time when seeds start to push through the soil. You've planted them and you can start to see the buds starting to show. But one of the key things I always remember as a good suggestion about the season of spring is not to rush spring. Spring, again, is new opportunities, and you don't want to rush them. You want to watch them unfold naturally and just enjoy those moments because, as we know, spring does not last forever. What happens is the seeds we plant, they bloom, the daylight hours start to get longer, and then we find ourselves in the warmth of summer. Summer, summer, summertime, summertime. Summer is my favorite season of the year. I consider myself a summer baby. I was born in August, so I love all things summer. I love the heat. I love the long days. I love the abundance of sunshine. I love that everything is growing at peak. It's some of the best fruit out in summertime. It's sundresses and sandals. Um, Everyone is outside and just enjoying the time of year that kinds of brings about festivals and activities. And it's just the same in our lives. Summertime is when things are usually flourishing. Could be your career is flourishing, your relationships are strong, your confidence is high, you're feeling good in your skin. Summer season, I think about summer season as a reward for all of the things that you planted in the spring. You now get to reap that harvest. But just like summertime eventually cools down, life also shifts, and we find ourselves in the fall season. And fall is a season of transformation. The leaves turn bright, brilliant colors before they fall off the tree. The air shifts, days shorten. It's pumpkin spice season. It's actually fall now out here, which is why I have the opportunity to be outside because the breeze is nice. The sun is not as intense. And in our lives, fall represents moments when we are asked to let go, release old habits, possibly end toxic relationships, maybe change careers, or even say goodbye to an old version of yourself that you've outgrown. Fall reminds us that there is beauty in change. One thing about the trees, when the leaves start to fall off the trees don't fight to keep those leaves on. They let them fall and they trust that spring will come again, and so will new leaves. And so they don't fight that process of change. So, a lesson that we can learn in the fall seasons of our lives is that sometimes we have to let go to make space for what's coming next. And after that last leaf falls in the season of fall and the trees are bare, we are in the stillness of winter. Winter brings about colder temperatures, quiet, longer periods of darkness. It's sometimes the hardest season, depending on what areas of the country you live in. It can be some of the hardest seasons. Things look dead. It actually feels kind of lonely, but winter is necessary. Earth is actually preparing itself for the next season of spring. And in our lives, winter can show up harsh sometimes as well. It can be a season of loss, a season of grief, waiting, uncertainty. But winter also provides us extra time for rest, reflection, and preparation for what's next in our lives. When I think of winter, I think about one of the most memorable or impactful winter seasons in my life. It was when my mother passed away. My mom passed away 4 days before Christmas, which that was hard in itself. And at that time I lived up north. So there was snow, there was cold weather, and just losing a loved one 4 days before Christmas in the dead of winter, I was experiencing a life winter and a season winter all at the same time. It was kind of hard to have such a negative experience and a holiday coming up right behind it. But I would say that's one of my most impactful winters that I've ever experienced. I felt in a dark place. But one thing I did is I took the time to rest and reflect. And those two things became very important for me during that season. And I also held on to the hope that I felt in my heart that this dark season wouldn't last forever. And that after winter, spring always comes. So whether you are in the spring, see, things is blowing around, so I'm just trying to catch them, y'all. So whether you are in spring season of new beginnings, summer season of growth and abundance, a fall season of changing and letting go, or a winter season of rest and reflection, just remember that each season has a purpose and that seasons don't last forever. So, right now, take some time and think about what season of life are you in right now? Are you in a season of growth? Are you in a season of waiting? Are you in a season of letting go? What season do you feel like you're in right now? And then think about what is one lesson that season is trying to teach you. You know, I've mentioned it before. I love to journal. So write down your thoughts. Write down what season you feel you're currently in and what lessons that you are learning in that season. But whatever season it is, embrace it and make it the best season you possibly can. Again, every season has a purpose in our lives, and it's up to us to find out that purpose and embrace it. So for me, I feel like I am in a spring season. I'm experiencing lots of new beginnings, lots of fresh starts. I have desires for even more fresh starts. I'm trying new things. It rains a lot in this season, and I actually have some winter days in this season, but it's only days. But the rain that does occur in this season for me is like a refreshing and renewing rain. Things are blooming. I have hopes of and expectations about the upcoming summer season because I just feel like it's going to be great. And the lesson I'm learning in this season is to just be. I received some very good advice from a good friend of mine. We were talking one day, just having a conversation, and I was sharing some things that was going on. And she looked at me and she said, Lorna, embrace the season that you're in. Just sit back, enjoy it, and just be. And I sat there for a minute and I thought about that, and that was some great advice. And I took it to heart. And so when I find myself getting caught up in the everyday hustle and bustle, I kind of remind myself to just be. That was some great advice. So sitting outside again, just watching everything that's going on out here, it just reminds me of some things that our heart already knows. Things are not meant to be the same forever. Every season has a purpose, and change is not only normal, but it's necessary. Because we human beings, we so often find ourselves wishing our moments away. We long for spring when we in winter. We long for the growth of summer while we in fall. And the best thing to do is just discover the work that the current season you're in is trying to do in you and let it do what it do. And in the words of my friend, just be. It just reminds me of the scripture Ecclesiastes 3:1. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. So what we should do is just Decide and discover and accept and appreciate God's timing in our lives. So, as we wrap up today's conversation, I hope it encouraged you as much as it has encouraged me, even preparing for it and just repeating it to you guys. I hope it inspired you to embrace the season that you're in. And I hope this environment and me being outside encouraged you to get outside. So I am Miss All, and this has been Mike Talks. And I just want to remind all of you to do all, love all, and be all you were created to be. I'll talk with y'all again in 2 weeks. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so we can stay connected. So until next time, embrace that season you are in. I'm going to sit here a little bit and just continue to enjoy time in my happy place and being outside. I got me some snacks and I want to show y'all my cup. Look at my cup. A friend of mine bought me this and I'm out here enjoying my time. But ain't this cute? Thank you, friend. Ask me about my podcast. But again, thank y'all for joining me on Mike Talks with this Miss All. I'll talk to y'all in 2 weeks. And go outside and embrace your season. Bye. Talk to y'all later.